Hi guys, today we are going to see what does it take to learn Android in 2020. One of the key challenges that I see in current environment is like knowledge is too scattered over the net. People are not able to comprehend where to start, where to end. So that is one of the key problems for someone who is moving from some other language, or if he's a backend developer he wants to learn Android, if he's a front end developer he wants to learn Android. So the problem is that he is not having one single place where he gets all the information. At the same time, presenters or tutorial givers make certain assumptions that you know so many things before starting off, which is not the case when person is a fresher or a person is fresh to Android. At the same time, let's say if you are a Java developer, nowadays what's the problem is that it's all in Kotlin. And what if someone don't want to do things in Kotlin and he still want to stick in a Java paradigm? So these are some of the key challenges, and I tried comprehending set of things that I feel you should start with in current paradigm to decipher and learn and make your way forward in Android. And some of the key elements that I captured in this slide, which you're seeing on your screen, is important. And I categorized into three basic themes, and we will see in the next slide also some additional things. Is layout, activities, and views, right? So one of the general problem that you will see in current things, you will see multiple layout. Layout is nothing but and I still am is trying to make sure it is as simple as possible. Layout is nothing but how your screen will look or appear, what elements it will constitute is what your layout defines. And one of the key important thing that you need to understand about is constraint layout. You have to use everything as a constraint layout wherever possible. Relative layout and linear layouts are the older stuff, and let's not use it as much as possible. Coordinator layout is the layout which is wrapping everything inside it so that you give or you see a feel of an app, right? You go to any professional app, you see top navigation bars, and right side you have logout and login things and all that stuff that you can achieve with the help of constraint layout. At the same time, you have to understand about there is something called a material layout. Probably you have to see in some of the layout XML there is something called app bar. So this material layout comes from the material design that is provided by Google and the open source community. You need to learn that as well. At the same time, you need to learn how you can define and create Android uh, layouts in Android Studio. There are many tutorials available out of the box for this, but still practice will certainly help, because not everything you can do directly on visual. Same time you can't directly do. There are two parts to that layout editor. One is XML and another is a view where you can do or draw things on a drawing board. That's what I'm referring to. The other thing where you will probably, I say, maybe struggling is on the layout dimension. So one of the key terms that front-end developers use is something called responsive layout, right? And I was also confused when I started some time back about this particular stuff where they are defining the dimensions of, say, image or text or whatever in something called DP and SP. But these are the specifications that refers to the dimension of a pixel, where it is not dependent on the device. So it is device independent pixel is what they say DP. Stroke independent pixel is for SP, which you use for text and all that. But these things will not, these two things especially will not give you the responsive layout. And I'm just referring to point 6 where my cursor is. But actually you have to define a layout in percentage based one, so that as the screen sizes reduce or expands, your layout should not distort, and that is what we say and we call it as a responsive layout. So that is all about the layout part. I will come to the second one, which is about the activity. So one of the key challenges, right? Every Android tutorial will start with say activity and all that. You need to understand that the current version is Android X and not V4. Most of the tutorials may be outdated and contains version 4 details of it or the migration step in between, but if you are starting fresh, you don't have to bother about it, and then you have to use Android X and not version 4. At the same time, there will always be a disconnect between whether to use activity or a fragment. So just to be clear, since if you are the first time starter, activity is the minimum unit of work that you can achieve in Android. So is the fragment. So fragment is even a smaller unit of an activity, but people are now debating and discussing whether to use activity or fragment. So depending on the need or a particular application, probably that is where you have to make a choice, but there is no clear code dimension or distinction in between whether to use activity or a fragment. The third thing you have to understand about this view binding and injectors like butter knife and versus find view by ID, because that is the basic preliminary step that Android provides using find view by ID. So I prefer to use some kind of injector based mechanism because that gives you easier way or a cleaner way in a code through which you can refer some of the components that you are seeing in your layout files. So to make it more simple and understandable, let's say if you want to locate a text box and update it with the newer value of that text box, then you have to first locate that text box in your layout XML by your ID, and then you can make any changes to it, right? So one of the key ways of doing it is via find view by ID. Alternatively, you can use view bindings, which is the latest one from Android X, or use some injectors like butter knife or something, but they are deprecated. So make your choices, and you can still achieve all the three things with same thing, but it's important that you understand what that actually it means. The fourth point is about navigating from one activity. So let's say if I have a login activity and then I have a main activity which is doing some work, let's say showing the images. So how will I move from one activity to another is another thing that you have to learn. That is about the intent part. And that's where your intent comes into picture. And intents are nothing but a bridge in between two activities, and that is provided out of the box by Android, and you can very well utilize them to move from one activity to another, provided you define these activities in your manifest XML. That is one thing that you have to understand when you are going and doing the actual implementation of it, right? Similarly, when you start using fragments, another unit of work in Android, you have to move from one fragment to another. So there are some out of the box methods that are available that you can use. You can do just control space and it will give you all the methods. Fragment manager is the class name that you can use. I covered point 6 in while I was talking about point 3 and 4 in under the activity section, but this step is important if you have to navigate from one activity to another with the help of intent, and that's what I am just trying to put through here, right? Another important part that has been recently introduced is about live data. So assume that you have a database and which is updating the activities. For example, let's say your order is ready for shipping. Let's say if you are on some of the e-commerce site like Amazon and Flipkart, and then your application needs to be notified about it in a given text box. Then live data will help you connect the backend data with your front-end view, and this is another new thing that is available in Android X. Probably you guys will be seeing this more often when you are going to go and see the tutorials. So the intent of this tutorial is not to go in the tutorial mode of like, but give you the gist of like what you guys have to consider before moving actually or doing things, right? The third part is about the views. So there are multiple views. I'm just putting through three views which are of importance. Recycler views are still relevant. Similarly is your list view. I just want to call out one more important thing which is called view pager. This view pager is defined in your layout XML. Layout XML is nothing but a manifest file that defines the layout of your application. So this view pager is relevant when you have to update or add the data into your fragment. So probably just watch out for this section for the view pager part as well. And just move to some of the glossary terms that people use, and if you're new to Android you will just feel confused or not able to understand what they are talking about, right? And one of them is your snack bar. The bottom part of the screen when you go to any of the Android or Apple phones, you will see that the bottom toolbar or the notification bar, they call it as a snack bar. Similarly, the three dots which you usually see on any of the apps is called an overflow menu. The top part of the screen is called a toolbar. At the same time, toolbar and app bar intermingle, but that are carried from the previous versions of the Android. So that's why they are intermixing or jalling in between, and that's why there is no distinction as such I can tell you on the screen, but they cover the top portion of your application most of the time. I'll just move on to the some of the next things that we have to cover, and then here is like some of the things that I feel that is important which you guys have to consider while learning through your Android journey. And one of them is your resources folder, right? I mean, so any app will look ugly if you don't take care of the look and feel or the color combination of your app, right? And resources is the folder, or res is the folder that is in your Android application, which holds all the details that is relevant for the look and feel of the Android app. Yeah. At the same time, this assets folder contains all the images, right? Be it in vector or the static images. Vector images are drawn at runtime, and this is important distinction, while your images like JPG or PNGs are already being drawn. So for different dimension of screens, you may need to provide different image sizes. So these are the some of the differences that you have to understand, and you can go to any of the channel to understand it in more detail, that what they mean and how you do it. But these are like some of the guidelines you have to look at. Similarly, if you need or if your app need, and there is a need in your app that you have to hold the data uh, on the device, probably I prefer to have a DB installed as a part of your app with right permissions, and then you guys can look at something called SQLite, which you are seeing on my screen here, for all the details that you're looking for. And at the end, probably I'm just trying to add some of the references that I went through to understand the paradigm in more detail, from the perspective of, like, if I have to create a new app, what all things I need to take care to make sure that things are as per the correct expectation of 2020 and not the older one, because this is a very long journey that Android has covered from last 10-12 years, and there are multiple layers are added on one on the top of another. So if you're a new person, it is very difficult for us to comprehend and understand that what does it take to develop a application which is meaningful, at the same time conforming to the standards. So thanks a lot for seeing this video, and I will take a pause here, and we'll meet you next time. Thanks.